Okay. Hey, Dawn, how are you? Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm so happy to finally meet you.
Me too. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I just think that the W connection is going to be such a breath of fresh air for my ministry. And I just believe that in my heart. So, I'm excited about today. I'm excited about what we're doing because this is going to help the masses, not just my church, Greater Cathedral United Apostolic Ministries, located in the Bronx, New York, but it's going to help our community, the community in which we serve, the people and the neighbors in our 10469 area code.
I, I am I am so excited. When we first got your email,
Mm-hmm.
Pat, who received the email, immediately shared it to me.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, "Wow, this is great. Bishop Spence wrote to us, and she wants to help her members by introducing them to the W Connection." And we really were excited before even that first phone call with you, because I think working with you
Mm-hmm.
and working with the church, I think will help your members, like we said, but I think also it could be a model across the country, right? Can
Yes.
we do this in other churches as
Mm-hmm.
well? And I think, what we talked about a little is, since the pandemic, so the W Connection was started in 2009 by me,
Okay.
a year after the death of my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And before the pandemic, we were a national organization with 13 brick and mortar. I get a
Okay.
little technical.
Mm-hmm.
I have a technology background,
I
so
know.
13
Wow.
physical chapters. And then
Okay.
we went from, on March 5th, when the pandemic started, we went from 13 physical chapters to everybody online.
Wow.
We went like
Yeah.
that. And I think what we are starting to do now is we are starting to slowly move back to in-person
Mm-hmm.
clubs, is what we're calling them. So the
Okay.
nice thing is, the hope is that your members will come to W Connection virtually, but that eventually one of your members will start a club in your
Yeah.
church, which will be beautiful.
I would love that. That's something that I can see. I can see that happening because when I think about the church now, since we transitioned from a denominational church to an apostolic church, which means we deal more with the community. I seen the widows in my church, and not just during the pandemic, but prior to that, because my former pastor, he passed away in 2010, and my sister, Diane Berry, was married to his son, and Bishop Berry died in January. This month will make 11 years, um, in 2010, but his son died December 2010. So that was such a blow for our ministry to lose our pastor, and then for my sister to lose her husband, which was our pastor's son. That was devastating. And from that time on, we've had several other women in our church who have lost their spouses or their partners or their significant others. And I didn't know what to do to help them. I don't have the experience. I don't know what it means to be a widow or how it feels, but I have a heart for these women. And I know after the pandemic, I needed to do something because the last widow in our church, um, she's in so much pain. And it's been 2 years, but she's in so much pain. And my heart just kept going out. I said, I have to do something. I had to pray. I said, God, please show me something. And that's when I seen the W Connection. And that was it. Here we are.
As I shared with you earlier, as soon as you
Mhm.
came on the screen, I could see your beauty inside and out, your love,
Thank
your
you.
desire to help the community. And
Yeah.
it's it's wonderful that you knew, I'm going to help them, and you came to us. And I just wanted to share, for some of the widows who will watch this, that when I was widowed, I the sadness was there, right? I got the sadness. I lost my husband. But I think what was so hard for me, and the reason why I started the organization, was that I came to the realization that I had to rebuild my life.
Yeah.
Was I going to be able to, I shared with you earlier that my son was 1 month old when my husband was diagnosed with cancer, and he died 2 months later when my son was 3 months old. So I sat there going, and I had a 7-year-old dog. And I said, how am I going to raise my son? And even the small things like, how am I going to walk my dog when I have a child at home? Or the big things like, how am I going to pay this mortgage on my own? We had just moved into this apartment. So I think the sadness everybody gets, but one of the reasons for the peer support with the W Connection is that I knew the best advice that I got was from other widows, because they would say, okay, this is hard. Let's figure out, maybe I could watch the kids while you go to the store, and then, things like that. Just that peer support of the W Connection community. And the hope is that when you come online, you feel that warmth. So this month, so we have lots of different programs. I think it actually gets a little bit confusing for the member first coming on. So there is something called the peer-led topic meetings. And those are monthly topics. So this month, it's about hope. And what we start with is we say, we get that when your partner dies, you feel like there is no hope, right? That all hope is lost. But we had a meeting just Monday night, and what you can see in the meeting room, as we start to move through the meeting, we start to say, well, joining the W Connection showed a sliver of hope. Maybe putting up that tree for Christmas showed a sliver of hope. Right? So the meeting, although you start with, hey, we get this, we get that this is sad, but is there some hope that shines through? And by the end of that meeting on Monday, you could see the women shaking their head going, wow, I get it. Maybe I don't see it yet. I don't see the hope, but I know it's there. Or, oh, I didn't realize that was hope. So that's our meeting this month is hope.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, because we don't know who is amongst us that have lost a partner, have lost a husband, and to be able to come together with women who are like-minded and have this, who share the same experience, and to offer them, like you said, that sliver of hope. That's amazing. That's more than I could offer. You know what I mean? It's more than I could offer those widows in my ministry, and to really get an understanding of what it means to be a widow and to navigate and to journey through that. You have to have somebody who has been there and had done that, So I'm glad that we've connected. So what else about?
I'm sure that, again, I feel your love as soon as you came on the screen. So I'm sure, just knowing that somebody cares is wonderful to somebody who's lost a partner.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the different programs that you have and the clubs.
So we have a couple of different things. So, again, we went fully virtual on March 5th of 2020. And then we went, the nice thing about having women across the United States was that we can do more, right? So if I had a physical location, on the Upper West Side, well, maybe there was 60 women in that group.
Okay.
But now I had everybody across the United States. So we started with webinars. So
Okay.
we brought in guest speakers, whether it was a person in the medical profession, whether it was a person who, we're having something next month through America Saves and through one of our board members about saving and creating budgets. So that's going to be next month.
Nice.
We have other webinars about meditation, or mindfulness. So so with those 60 or 80 members in New York, maybe you got one or two who is interested in mindfulness or budgeting. But now with the members across the United States, we have about 30 people who might come to a webinar on mindfulness or a webinar on budgeting. So we do have webinars and workshops, and we've actually even done yoga online.
I love yoga.
Yeah. And then we have something called, so then we started to say, okay, we need to start moving towards in person, right? When the restrictions started to lift, we weren't comfortable going fully back in person. Right. So we started to say maybe we could do things like step outs. And we started to do in person, just fun activities like a walk over the Brooklyn Bridge.
Nice.
We did something called forest bathing in Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay.
So the step outs are in different locations.
Okay.
And in D.C., I think we got people who traveled in as far as Colorado, in New York. And, I drove in from New York and went to D.C. for the forest bathing event. So those are our step outs. We also have something called W Chat, which is, so if you look at, what we say at the W Connection is there is no timeline for widowhood. I think what was hard for me when I was first widowed is I kept going through, what is it, the 7 stages of grief? I forget how many there was.
Yes.
But I kept going, okay, when do I get to accept them? And then I'd be back at anger, and then I'd go, I go, I'm doing this all wrong. So what we do say at the W Connection is that there is no timeline. There's some people who join the W Connection. What might happen is somebody's husband might die, and this is actually an example, but then their dad got sick, and they were taking care of their dad for the next 8 months. And then when their dad passed, that's when they went, okay, now I realize that I haven't done anything to help me through this. So what we say is there is no timeline, because you never know. Even me with my son was 3 months old. Some things I put on hold, and apologies for that.
No problem.
Some things I put on hold, but we say there's no timeline for grief. But what we do is we have different programs where you have the peer-led topic meeting this month is about hope. But in W Chat, it's about embracing hope.
Okay.
So in the peer-led topic meeting, it's about looking for those seeds of hope. And in W Chat, it's embracing that hope. So what we try to do is offer programs for those new women coming in, and then offer programs for those women that are farther out on their journey. And again, there's no timeline. So that person could be 3 years out or 2 years out or 3 months out. It really depends on the person.
Yeah, still see that there's still that connection between the chat and the webinar, and however you do it, this still has that connection, which is good. And it offers these widows an opportunity to go here for what you need, and then you'll come back here to a webinar and you'll get something out of that, or you might do the yoga and the meditation, and that all helps. But they need guidance. And I just believe that the W Connection is the place for my people.
And what we say is we talk about the 4 pillars of the W Connection. It's in connection, it's education, encouragement, and empowerment. So what we really try to do is offer programs that that will connect them, that
Mhm.
will educate them in a sense of not do it this way, but this is what other people have done, right? That
Right.
education from your peers. And
Mhm.
then encouragement, we're all here doing it,
Mhm.
seeing people who are further out gives hope to the new
Mhm.
members coming in. And then we talk about empowerment. And my thoughts are, once you start to give back,
Mhm.
that's where the true joy comes.
Mhm.
My joy is when I see a new woman coming into the W connection and I see she's crying and it's
Yeah.
hard to get a word out. I
Mhm.
actually get inspired by that
Yeah.
because I know that
Mhm.
3 months, 6 months, 8 months down the road, she is going to start to rebuild her life.
Yes.
So the empowerment part is that part of giving back, right? Because we have all women
Mhm.
who are on the journey,
Yeah.
some women who are here that are just supporting the new widows coming in. So I did want
Mhm.
to talk a little bit about the clubs because the hope is that eventually we'd start
Yes.
a club in your
Yes.
church.
Yes.
So we are just starting these, so it's actually a perfect timing for us to
Mhm.
talk. So clubs are going to be in-person gatherings. And what we're starting to formulate them. And the thoughts are this, that people would come to the virtual meetings, right? So they would come to the peer-led topic meeting where they talk about hope. And then at the end of the month, the club would gather, possibly in a room in the church. And maybe it's 5 people who say, hey, that was really great. And this is what I felt during that. This is
Mhm.
how. So
Mhm.
now you've got that connection
Yeah.
with the larger community
Mhm.
and the connection with the smaller community as well.
Mhm.
The nice thing about the clubs is they could be started with 2 people.
Two people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like that idea because we have more than two widows in our church, and um I don't know that they've grieved enough or that they knew how to grieve. You know, I think there is a difference between um being a widow and having an organization like the W Connection to walk you through the different stages that you're going to go through, and someone who's been widowed and all they can do is cry. There's
Yeah.
no help of, okay, what do I do next? Somebody to lead me, somebody to guide me, somebody to tell me, why am I feeling like this, or why shouldn't I be feeling this way, or isn't it time for me to feel something else? And I think that's so important for these women, so that way they can go ahead with their lives, um, without their spouse, without their husband, but knowing that, um, I feel better.
Yeah.
I feel like I can do this, instead of, feeling so down and so sad and so depressed and so hurt. You might still have that hurt, you might still have that pain, but now you know how to use it, so to speak, or you know how to put it to the side and then pick it up later if you have to. But I think there needs to be a guide. And I'm just quite sure it's the W Connection. And I love the fact about the clubs. I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. I know I can't wait till we start a club in
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm. We're
community.
gonna start one.
I know, I feel it. You contacted us at the exact
Yeah.
right time. So
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. I was led. I was led. I just said, okay, I gotta go online. I gotta find something. So I just typed in widow, and
we
your
came
name
up
and several others came up. So I'm
wonderful.
I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
And I think the other thing too, I think when I was first widowed, um, I remember saying, okay, Dawn, you got this. You're going to be able to take care of your baby. You're going to be
Mm-hmm.
able to work your job. You're going to be able to
Mm-hmm.
walk the dog. And then I'd just sit there and I'd crumble in a corner,
Yeah,
right?
wow.
And it was great
Mm,
just for another widow to say to me,
mm,
this is hard.
yeah.
That's all right. You're crumbling
Yeah.
in a corner. You could do that for a while.
Wow.
So I think it's the encouragement, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also the understanding that, we're going to rock back and forth in a corner for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's, it's so hard. And then,
Yeah.
I think throughout my day, I didn't have anywhere to cry, right? When I was with my son, I couldn't cry then. When I
Yeah.
was walking the dog, I couldn't cry then. Certainly when I was at the office, I couldn't cry then.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to this group, even though I
Mm-hmm.
created it,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I'd cry. I'd
Yeah.
go, okay, this is the time. But again, we talk about in the meetings, we talk about that lack of hope. But
Mm-hmm.
the meeting moves along and we said, but wait, there is some hope
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing it. Yes,
Yeah.
there is this sadness, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to see the hope.
Yes.
And like I said, W chat is further on that continuum where we start to say, I'm going to embrace it now,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I can embrace it now. I'm
I can
strong
embrace
enough
it.
to do this now,
Yep.
and it's a ray of hope. It's a ray of hope. It's that sliver of hope that, I feel so good about being able to present to the widows in my community so that they can say, oh, wow, I've never heard of this before, or I didn't know what type of group I could go to and be able to get some education, to be encouraged, to be inspired. And I'm just excited about that. So let me ask you a question. What is the bigger picture? Are there any future plans or bigger plans in the
Oh,
connection?
oh my gosh, there's always bigger plans.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's funny, every time I talk to somebody, I'm like, they'll give me an idea and I'm like, oh yeah, that's on the bigger vision.
Okay.
Um, I think one of the things that we're, obviously clubs, like I think of this, clubs are the most important thing for 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they are going to be a new way for us to grow and enter more communities. And I like it because whereas a chapter was a big lift for the volunteer who started to do it, right? The chapters were bigger. You needed, in
Mm-hmm.
order to run a successful meeting, you needed at least 14 people, but for clubs, it's a smaller lift. So I'm really excited about clubs.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that we're doing that we've done before, but we're looking to do more of, a few years ago, the W Connection did a research project.
Mm-hmm.
One of the women on my board is in women's health, and she did a survey
Mm-hmm.
where she asked questions of widows about their health. Because what we noticed is that many of our women were coming down with different illnesses.
Oh, wow.
And Jean Jacobowitz, who did the survey, who's on my board,
Mm-hmm.
when she spoke to women, she said, this isn't just a coincidence. There's something.
Mm-hmm.
She did a survey and she got about 500 responses. And what we saw is that there is a connection between loss of a partner
Mm-hmm.
and increase in health issues. So we are looking to do the next part of that survey, or possibly create some guidance for medical practitioners to say that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, if a widow comes in, um, possibly have her ask her these questions, or
Yeah.
have her come back in 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure that she's taking care of everything. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
even members in our group whose husband had long-term illnesses,
Mm-hmm.
and during that time, they neglected their own care, right? So maybe after their husband passed, they go in. So that's another piece on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, lots more other things. My new board member is interested in financial health.
Okay.
So we're looking to do more
Important.
in that too. And that's one of the reasons for our February
Mm-hmm.
webinar, and then maybe a connection there, a future connection there.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought about a widower's connection?
For a while, to me, it's an interesting question, because I remember when I started this organization with a woman named Ellen Camp. And sadly, Ellen Camp passed away of cancer during the pandemic, but not because of the pandemic. And Ellen and I would talk about this a lot. And I said, loss is loss. Let's help everybody. And she said, Dawn, but I only know what it's like to be a widow. So we always said that if a man steps up and wants to run a group, we would do it.
Okay.
So I think, yes, that bigger picture, I don't know when it is,
Right.
but who are those leaders in different communities, right? Like, I always think, will my son take over the W Connection? And he knows what it's like to lose a parent, but he doesn't know my loss. So I think if we were to ever grow that way, we would need people in those communities to step up. We did partner with another organization called the National Widowers Foundation. So right now we send men to them.
Okay.
But it is a thought that's always in my head.
Okay. And the reason I ask is because we do have a widower in our ministry who lost his wife during the pandemic to COVID. And he's raising 3 children.
Wow.
18, I think 16, and maybe 14, something like that. So I know he could definitely use this type of help,
Yeah.
But that's the only reason I asked, because it sounds like such a phenomenal group that it's like, wow. Well, maybe, you know what? Maybe when we do the club at our church and some of the men hear about it, they know somebody that knows somebody.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But I'm very excited about the W Connection. Talk about it. I've been talking about it for the last 2 weeks. And hopefully, and I meant to join you on the 9th, and I just went right out my mind. So
right.
I wanted to come on in, but I'll definitely be there in February, because I just want to get to know more about the W Connection, so that when God forbid we have more widows that come into our ministry, and it may be at a time where the club is not up and running that day, but I could be there to just kind of tell them, or there can be that leader who has participated in some of the W Connections resources, and that could sit right there with them and let them know what's going on, and let them know what we have to offer. I love that. I'm really excited about this. Yeah.
And please don't hesitate to call me or Pat. I'm always, you could see, like, from the time we talked, I did technology for a living before I left in 2017. And I always have my cell with me, and I always like pick up, and I'm, it's probably rude for the people that I'm with, but I easily go back and forth. So we are always a phone call away for questions, and you could even let us know, when people from your community come, so we could welcome them, and we'll see what else we can do here, because I think that, like I said, the nice thing about this is I feel like we're starting something for not only your community, but I think this is going to be a model for other communities. I really do think that this was meant to happen.
Me too.
And especially because of the timing. And yeah, I'm really excited that we're going to be able to help more women.
So give us your address, give us where you are located at, telephone number, and the date of the next, or the February, what is it, meet and greet or something like that?
Yeah, so what we do is every month. Well, it's actually every 3 weeks. We say
Okay.
every month, but it's
Mhm.
actually every 3 weeks.
Okay.
We have what's called an orientation session. And
Okay.
you could just, if you go to www.wconnection.org, or you could get there by going www.widowsconnection.org.
Okay.
What you'll see is you'll see our site. You'll see our website. You
Mhm.
can take a look around. You could ask questions on the website. But I
Mhm.
think the best thing to do is join one of the information sessions
Mhm.
and just come on and see what we're about. So what that is, it's an orientation to say, kind of lots of stuff that we talked about today, but there's so many programs at the W Connection that
Mhm.
I think getting an orientation is great. And then what we do is a 20-minute peer-led topic meeting.
Okay.
And that meeting is called Widowhood. There is no playbook.
I
You
love
know,
that.
it's one of the first things that Ellen Camp, my co-founder, and I used to say. We used
Mhm.
to look for some guidance, some playbook. What's step one? And then we realized there isn't one, right?
Mhm.
We do this with the help of others.
Mhm.
So that next one is actually January 30th, and they're just about every 3 weeks. I think we say every month, but it's really every three
Okay.
weeks. Um, I think, yeah, I mean, that's the way you find us, and that's the best way. That's the best way to start. The other thing that I did want to say
Mhm.
is that, so we do have a membership, and membership fee is $75 for the year. So we make it very reasonable. But we also offer something called a kindness membership, which
Okay.
means no questions asked. If you feel that you cannot afford it, it's just an email to us and we set it up.
Okay.
So while we do think, at the beginning of the W Connection, we didn't charge a fee.
Mhm.
And then we realized it was something we had to do. And what we realized is that when people kind of make that commitment to say, I'm going to do this now, it's actually been more empowering for
Right.
women.
Mhm.
But we also, in my heart, I know I never want somebody to say that I want to do this, but I can't. So it
Right.
really is a no questions asked. It comes to us, and we set up a kindness membership as well. That's something that we
Nice.
do.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I think you've answered every question that I could have at this point, and I hope that our discussion is going to encourage the women, the widows, the men who know of widows that need this type of assistance. When I upload this to our Facebook page and our website, I just hope that people will click on and say, you know what, that I was looking for something like this. I need to be at the next session, so. Thank you so much, Dawn. It was a pleasure meeting you, and I'm quite sure this is not going to be our last encounter.
Yes, I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yes, me too, me too. And I hope your son feels much, much better.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless you. We'll talk again soon.